let's go ahead and talk about the legislation on the floor for housing, housing benefits for education. Go ahead and take that, and then after that, I'll kind of speak on my experience with the GI Bill for my undergrad
Absolutely.
and grad school, and then we'll just go
Yep.
from there.
Yep. So Senator Rubio and Rosen, I'm not sure how you say it, those two introduced a bill to help veterans who are parents better access their post 9/11 GI Bill. So, if you go to school currently with the post 9/11 GI Bill and you go to school, whatever, a day a week in person, you get that full housing allowance. However, if you go to school just remotely online only, you get a portion of it. Well, they are looking at this and saying that's an injustice, and it's putting parent veterans in a
Hmm.
kind of a funky situation, because now you're looking at this benefit going, okay, look, I need education. I know that. But a little extra income in the house would sure be helpful. I'm going to have to leave little Johnny at home because he's 12 and he'll be fine while I'm at school, driving to school in traffic and back and all of that. Or maybe little Johnny's 4. Now I got to pay for a babysitter to come over. And now Johnny doesn't get the opportunity to have his parent around, right? Now, maybe the other parent's working. Maybe it's a split situation. I mean, there's 1,000 different scenarios. The bottom line is that if you, as a parent, say, hey, look, I want to get my education through the GI Bill in which I earned, and have my kids sleeping in the room next to me as I knock out my schoolwork, who's to say that you should be penalized for that? So what I want to do here, Clay, real quick, is I'm going to it's a very short couple,
Hmm.
tiny paragraphs, read it to you directly from the senator's website, and then I'd love to get your thoughts. So it says here, for many veterans, the GI Bill is an essential tool for advancing their education. With the current system, veteran parents, so not the parents of veterans, but veterans with kids, right? Veteran parents who pursue their education online in order to attend family obligations are only eligible for half the GI Bill's available housing benefits. This requirement often forces parents to choose between attending in-person classes to receive full benefits or staying at home with their children. This equates to veterans receiving half of the benefits they would have received if they were attending the classes in person. U.S. Senators Marco Rubio and Jackie Rosen introduced the Education Flexibility for Veteran Parents Act to make it easier for veterans with dependent children to access full housing benefits provided through GI Bill, regardless of regardless of whether their program is in person or online. So either way, whether you do it online or in person, you get the full housing allowance, which makes sense to me. I think COVID has opened up the eyes with
Hmm.
all the different things going on with that, to where this just makes sense, right? That this was written prior to, just the vast accessibility now. And I'm just going to throw out the name again one more time and throw out kind of a disclaimer, not a disclaimer, but a ask. If you support this, reach out to your congressional representative on the House and Senate side. Let them know that you support the Education Flexibility for Veterans Parent Act. Back to you, Clay.
Absolutely. So, I can't think of a single argument as to who would oppose this. In fact, if the bill's ever voted on and who does oppose it, we might need to talk about those that oppose that, right? But that's neither here or there right now. I like how you brought up COVID because I got out in 2019. I did one semester. I had 2 kids at the time. I did one semester in person, and it sucked. Right? I was at work full time. I'm brand new normal person, and so I'm really putting in the hours at work, trying to make stake my claim in the workplace environment, adjusting, which is a whole other story. And on top of that, I got to work at like 7:30, leave at 5. I was taking classes at Belvoir, at Fort Myer, and at the Navy Yard in DC. So all in the Northern Virginia, DC area. Night school was from 6:30 to 9:30.
Um,
I would get home. By the way, there's traffic all the time here. I would get home around 10:30, and it just sucked. I mean, it was soul sucking. And on top of that, I had two kids, right? but I absolutely needed that money. And that's really what motivated me to go to
Yeah.
school. It wasn't the education. I'm just going to be
Yep.
real here.
Yep.
I still don't care about higher education. It was
Right.
the housing allowance because I needed it. It was non-taxable income. My kids needed it. And that was a huge, really spear in my gut. But whatever, I got through it. And then COVID happened. Not saying COVID was great. Okay. I'm just saying there were good parts of COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Telework was one of them. So specifically for the GI Bill, all of a sudden legislation came down saying, hey, COVID full time, if you're on Zoom, right, that would count as in person. You're going to go ahead and be awarded full BAH. And then that instance, I was able to go to work, come home. It's still soul sucking to sit in
Right.
class for 3 hours, especially on Zoom. That's not going to change. But I was home. I was able to, eat with my kids, tuck my kids in, do all that, bedtime routine, nighttime stuff. And it was a lot better.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, well, I want that's a strike that from the record, right? COVID lasted long enough for me to finish my degree. So it was, as far as school goes, it was awesome. And that's just my personal experience. And if you have kids and you're going to school full time, I really, if that's you in the comment section, please let us know, because it would be cool to see how many veterans are in school full time that watch this channel, especially if you have kids. But it's just, kudos to, you said Rubio.
Yeah, Rubio and Rosen.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kudos to them, because no one's really, generally speaking, when people talk about veterans transitioning, for some reason, there's always this like indication that it's a single veteran. But depending on how many roots you have in the world, that transition can be very, very, very stressful. If you have kids, kids with medical needs, whatever that looks like, transition can be it can suck. And I think this bill would at least ease, being at home with children, and receiving that full benefit, which, oh, by the way, you've already earned. So that's really all I have on that. I can't be I'm 1,000% in for this legislation. So
and here's my kind of, I guess, viewpoint on this. There's going to be times that we talk about things that might not affect you. Like this, you might not have post 9/11, you might not have any of that. This affects you zero, right? But it does affect one of our brothers or sisters out there. And if it makes sense, then we should collectively, as a veteran sphere, right, all of us, support it. Believe me, that all of the benefits that we enjoy today were on the back of another veteran who helped pave the way for us to receive them. And it's up to us to continue paving this road, right? And this is a way to do it. It's really easy. You call your congressional district office, right there in your district, and you just let them know. They're going to make little tallies of, hey, I had 17 people call in about this today. And then they're going to let that representative know. So it's just about getting the information out there, letting them know that we know what's going on as a group. And look, at the end of the day, quiet mouths don't get fed. So, if we sit on our hands, nothing's going to happen. If we work together, it's light work. So anyway, kick it back to you.
Yeah, I think following what you said, the PACT Act is a great example of that happening. The reason that GWAT veterans, the GWAT trap lords, as I like to call them, have the PACT Act is because of the Vietnam veterans, okay? And you want to talk about the American public forgetting a war or forgetting veterans, hands down, no competition. Vietnam veterans get shafted. They got shafted for years and years and years. I mean, think about it. PACT Act it was effective January of 23. The Vietnam conflict was 60s and 70s, okay? Just food for thought. That's a long time gap. A lot of them have already died, okay?
Right.
Tons of them have already died before they even awarded benefits, not just disability, healthcare.
Right.
Simple, hey, doc, I'm sick, okay?
Right.
And I think it's just the loudest voice in the room is always heard. I think instead of complaining about the VA, which I love to do when it's warranted, I think we could also do what's right in the eyes of the next future generations. But